Everything you desire is waiting for you to claim it. There's no creating involved, only invention through imagination and building through action. You are at the center of all your desires, dreams, and achievements. Welcome to Designing Your Life Today, the podcast that's all about your success, achieving your goals, building wealth through your business, and building your most passionate, powerful, magnificent life. Discover ways to use your purpose to connect you to serving others and living your dreams. I am Pat Council, and I know you are built by design to win. And it all begins with knowing how to tap into your success energy. Let's get on the path of discovery, decisive action, development, and unwavering dedication to your life's calling. It's time to embark on a transformative journey where your deepest passions become your most rewarding achievements. Embrace your power to shape your destiny, because this is your moment to do life with power. Hello, Power Up Nation. I'm Pat Council, and let's talk about how you interfere with your desired outcome. So many of you have set goals, and we are still at, let's say, on the early part of the year. We're still in the first quarter, and this is 2026, as I have dubbed it. This is the year that you get in the mix. In 2026, you get in the mix. And what that means is you are taking responsibility for the outcome that you desire to have as it relates to what you want your life to look like, what you want your business to look like, how you want it to grow, how much in revenues do you want to produce, and as far as your personal life goes, how healthy do you want to be, what kind of relationships, healthy relationships do you want to establish? So you get to decide. And many of you have already decided when you set your goals last year before we got into this year. And some of you, of course, did set your goals once 2026 came into play, but that's okay. The object of the game is for you to get the desired outcome. But you know what happens? Sometimes we interfere with the desired outcome. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to share 3 ways you interfere with your desired outcome, how you interfere with your desired outcome. So here's the thing. Nothing to me feels more unfulfilling and sometimes sadder than not achieving the goal. Been there, done that more than once. But the object of the game is not for you to give up. The object of the game is for you to understand that if you didn't achieve the goal, perhaps there's something you need to learn, and perhaps you want to kind of analyze what happened and see if you can figure out what happened. If you can't figure out what happened, of course, you want to perhaps consider getting a coach or get a mentor or read a book or something. Take a course, something that's going to put you on the right track and keep you on that track. But with that being said, until you decide what you need to do, let's get a little bit of insight. So first of all, the first thing that happens that causes us to interfere with our desired outcome is we use methods that we learned, let's say, based on tradition. And traditions that don't work today. And as a matter of fact, traditions that didn't work then. A lot of times the traditions are filled with stereotypes. This is who you are, so you have to work harder than this person because you're perhaps of a different race or a different gender. And I know hearing this, some of you may say, okay, is she in the real world when she says this? But yes, I am. Why? Because I take my cues from the Bible. Nowhere in the Bible does it say that I have to work harder than the next person. What it does say is that I do have to press toward the mark. And it does say that I have to think a certain way, and I have to act a certain way, and I have to have a kind of faith. and I have to write the vision and make it plain. And so it does give some specific instructions, but not one time does it tell me that because of perhaps my gender, because of race, that I can't do something. A lot of times tradition will not let go of the past. Because I don't know, I guess in some cases, people think they're honoring their ancestors and they're honoring the past. Now, for me, honoring my ancestors would be excelling, committing to excellence, not focusing on the negative things that have happened in the past, things that I can do absolutely nothing about, except be my very best and step up to the plate and do what it is I'm supposed to do. So these are the kinds of traditions that I'm talking about, where you buy into these traditions that cause you to really stereotype yourself and convince yourself that you're not capable based on perhaps gender, race, or even other things, born on the wrong side of the tracks, you name it. And I wanted to talk about this because I actually had a conversation with someone who asked me that question. And that person said, do I have to work harder? And of course, they're African American, and I am as well. And that person asked me that question. And she said, do I have to work harder than everyone else so that I can achieve my goals? And I said, no, you need to do what it takes to achieve the goal. Now, if that requires hard work, it doesn't mean that you're working harder than anyone else. Why are you comparing yourself to someone else? Because they have nothing to do with your goal. What will help you achieve your goal is having a really good plan, being a very good student, and that means learning from the people who've been there, done that. And even then, you have to kind of look at some of the new resources that we have available that can be used that will move you along a lot faster. But no matter what, you have to get a very solid foundation that's rooted in spiritual principles. Spiritual principles are immutable. No one can change them. No one can say that they don't exist, because even if they say it, that doesn't mean that it's true, because they've been proven and you can still prove them today. Faith is a proven spiritual principle. You must have faith in order to accomplish something. And you have to do the work to support the fact that you have faith. That's a principle. And if you do that, you will get the outcome you desire, or at least you're going to be on your way to getting that outcome. And you will decide what else you need to add to it. You're actually going to start to get insights, because what happens is when we start doing the work, then all of a sudden, the spiritual side of us, it kicks in and we're prompted to take certain actions. Okay. And that kind of brings me to my next point. And so the next thing, or the next way that we interfere with our desired outcome, which causes us not to get what we desire, is you get an idea, or you're prompted to take a certain action, prompted on, hey, this is the next move you should take, and you do nothing. You procrastinate, or you talk yourself out of it, or you talk about fear. Again, I've heard this one a lot over the years since I've been coaching. And I've talked to some people when I do my discovery calls with them, which, by the way, those are free. You can go to Designing Your Life Today. You can get on my calendar for a 15-minute discovery call, and we'll talk about kind of what's next, or what works, or even see if you're a good fit for me to be your coach. So, but when I talk to people, they're prompted to do something, and they will say it. They will say, it was put on my mind for me to call you, or they'll say, it was put on my mind. I saw this book. I had it in my hand, and I know this is the book I need for me, but I put it back on the shelf. Okay. Why did you put it back on the shelf? Well, well, I want to wait until I get paid again, or I want to wait until I earn more money in my business, a little extra money, then I will treat myself. Understand this. Know the difference between treating yourself versus getting the resources and tools that you need and making the connections that you need to make so that you can get to where it is you want to be. That's what it's about. And by the way, when you actually make that move, that helps you with the procrastination. Meaning, you may have procrastinated on doing that, but if you do that small thing, all of a sudden your confidence, it starts to inch up a little bit. And then you don't want to procrastinate anymore. You get excited about the fact that, wow, this took me to the next step. I'm excited to see where this is going to take me. And I can't believe how this is turning out for me. And so you get excited because you're going to get some really good feedback. But we stop our success or the desired outcome by procrastinating. You know what? Someone asked for me some help from me, and this is not as a paid coach, paid for paying me, but someone asked me to help them with something, and because they had done something for me, I said, of course, I'd be happy to help you with that. And they said, well, how much are you going to charge me? I said, I'm not going to charge you anything. And even though what they helped me with, the values did not match. Okay. The coaching was far more, cost more. And so, but I wanted to help that person. And so they said, this is what I need. And I said, no problem. And then I asked them to do one thing. I said, listen, I need you to send me kind of a bullet point sheet. So when we do talk, we can actually make something really great happen. So you can actually, we can get on the right track. You can start to see where your results are going to come from, and you can start moving the needle. And so here it is. It's absolutely free. And what happened was the person procrastinated. And they said, okay, I'll get it to you in a couple of days. A couple of days rolls by and I don't follow up with people. When I offer to do something that they've asked for and I say yes, I don't follow up. It's not my place to follow up. So I didn't hear from that person. And then a week later, I heard from the person and they said, oh, wow, you know what? I got really busy. And I'm not going to say what they were busy with. But if they're listening to this, you know who you are. But anyway, the point is that they got really busy, and they said, I got really busy, and it was something that was not going to move the needle in their life. It was not going to help them solve their issue. It was not going to take them where they wanted to go. So they said, well, can you give me another week? And I said, okay, I can give you a couple of more days because in about 4 days, I have new coaching sessions that will start and I won't have time. And so the point that I'm making is when you get opportunity, when you get the idea, when you feel like you need help, whatever the prompting is, whatever the vision is, whatever the idea is, don't stop. This is where your momentum kicks in. And this is where you're sending a very strong, energetic message to yourself that I am serious about this. I am going to make this happen. Your conscious mind at this point says, wow, we are on it and we're going to make it happen. The last, maybe 4 months, maybe more, I've been talking about the fact that I have to work out more because when I'm coaching, I sit a lot. So I'm actually probably going to do some coaching standing. But the point is that I got an idea as to what I needed to do to make sure that I stayed on point, stayed on track so that I can get to where I desire to be. And I immediately picked up the phone and called the person I was thinking of. And this is a fitness coach. And he had been my fitness coach about maybe 5 years ago. And I called her and I said, okay, you know what? I need you again. And he said, you know what? I was thinking about you the other day. I am so glad you called me because I was just going to call just to say hi. So the point is I acted on it and it turned out better than I thought. And he said, well, you know what? I have moved closer to where you are now. So I can either come to your house or you can come to mine. And so he has 2 kids and a wife. And he says, what we will do is I will make space for you in our family room while the kids are at school. So that was awesome. So the point is we kind of go back and forth now to each other's place. And because I drive to him a lot, he says I only have to pay him when he comes to me, which I do pay him his full fee because he is so worth it. But the point that I'm making is you get the idea, you take action because you're sending a message to your conscious mind that, yes, I am very serious about the goals that I've set. Here's the third way you interfere with your desired outcome. You seek approval from people who talk you out of your dream. You know, it's amazing how God puts a dream in a person's heart. God shows you what the calling is and pretty much shows you the outcome, that this is where it's going to take you in your life. And then you know what happens? Sometimes people will go out and they will ask their friends, their family members, they will ask other people, what do you think? And then they get these they don't get the answer that they're looking for or hoping for, because what they really want is for someone to affirm them. And so sometimes they don't get that. But then there are times when they're actually looking for someone to tell them it's a great idea, which is affirmation, but to also give them some steps as to how they can get started. But because that's not that person's area of expertise, that person says, I don't know, with the way things are today, the economy, you're not going to make much money with that. It's kind of, I think it might be a waste of your time. And the next thing you know, that person they feel their confidence goes down, and it's like deflating a balloon. So all of a sudden the excitement gets deflated and they don't want to do anything. And they talk themselves out of it. I can't tell you the number of people that I've talked to over the years who shared this with me. And the sad part about it is sometimes they're talking to a spouse. And really, I don't get into that. But in my head, I'm thinking, wow, you guys are there to cheer each other on. You guys are there to support each other, especially if that is a God-given gift. Married or not, I will say this, married or not, no one has the right to override that. I mean, in the Bible, God says he's first. So if God is first, that person should be willing to support you, and not necessarily financial support, but just support you by saying something nice and saying, okay. And even if they don't agree with it because they don't know how to do it, they can say, hey, let's try this for 6 months. What do you need from me? And if the person says, you know what I need from you is to just cheer me on for 6 months and see how it goes. And don't say anything negative. Just do that. So when we go seeking approval from other people, and it could be not just a spouse, it could be family members, it could be friends, as I said, but when you seek approval from other people and they proceed to talk you out of your dream, or they're not as excited as you are, or you don't get the response that you're looking for, you are interfering with your desired outcome. And what is the desired outcome in that case? A lot of times the desired outcome is that you simply want to do something that fulfills your life, something that you feel strongly about, something that you have had on your heart and in your mind for perhaps years, and you are ready to step up. And then all of a sudden it's like a fly, and they swat the fly and it falls down. That's kind of how it feels. Someone swats you and you just say, you know what? You carry the dream for several more years. I've talked to people like that. So with that being said, these are just 3 ways, and I want you to encourage you to take a moment, spend some quiet time, and write down how many other ways have you interfered with your own desired outcome. You see, here's the thing, and this is not about you beating yourself up. Anybody who's listened to this podcast beyond a year, you've heard me say this more than once. And if you keep listening, you'll hear me say it again periodically. It's not about beating yourself up, but it is about making yourself aware of what's going on with you to, so that you can decide if this is something that you want to change, if this is something that's really a part of that you want to keep as a part of your identity. Anytime you've adopted an identity that causes you not to feel fulfilled, that causes you not to follow through, that causes you not to get your desired outcome, that's a false identity. Things that come to you, as long as you're not hurting anyone, and these aren't bad, and we're talking about, of course, your God-given gifts and talents and your purpose, following through on that purpose. As long as you're doing that, yes, there may be some things that you have to adjust because of what tradition has taught you, and because the lack of confidence causes you to procrastinate, or because you're listening to the wrong people. But so you have to make that adjustment. So spend that quiet time and spend some time with yourself, jotting down how you interfere with your desired outcome. I can tell you guys, this will work wonders for you, because as I said, once you become aware, then you start to do things differently. You start to think differently. And all of a sudden, you're going to make better decisions and take better actions. In the meantime, I want you guys to do life with power, knowing that you are built by design to win.